All right, we've got a thumb here off of a Cat 336, and this thing suffered some pretty serious damage. The pin bent, and when it did, these ears were bent out really bad this way. We pulled them in a good bit with our hollow ram, and we've got a new pin. We put the new pin in on this side, and looking at the thumb there, it's still running fairly straight. When we put the pin in through this side, it's kicked way up. So that tells us that this ear, it needs to now fold back this way. So what we've done, we've got a brace running from here to here. That's going to allow a pivot point on the bottom. We've got this piece of 2-inch or 4x4 tubing. We've got it welded back here, and we've got it welded up here. What that did, that locked this in pretty good. So when we're pulling on it, this is going to stay pretty close to where it is. Hopefully, we've got an eye put welded on right here, and we've got another one welded on right here. The goal is to heat this ear up enough to flex out this ram and let it come in this way. It's going to be a trial and error. We're probably going to have to do it a few times. The goal is today to get this thing straight enough so the pin goes in there pretty freely. We've got a lot of cracks that we've got to touch up after we get it somewhat straight. Once we get it somewhat straight, we're going to come here and do some gouging and do some welding and get all these cracks welded back up. But hopefully this works out. We don't know what's going to happen really. We're just going to learn as we go on this one. So there's a lot of back and forth, bending and rechecking, but we got it to where the pin slides in good. Everything's off. We got a few braces that's welded in. Took a little bit of effort. Had to work this side, bring the pin in from this way, and kind of get a visual on which way it needed to go. Once we got it close that way, then we put the pin around from this side, and we could get a visual on which way it needed to go. But we got it tweaked, a lot of bending, pushing back and forth to get it right. Now we're going to add some more supports to hold this side in place. We've got this side locked in good. We're going to bring some supports and lock this side in. And we've got a bunch of cracks in here on these bosses that need to be gouged out and re-welded. So that's going to be the next step. And then once we get all the welding done, we'll put the pin back in there and double check, make sure nothing moved. But I don't think we'll have any issues there. But if we got to tweak it, we'll tweak it again. We're doing some welding on it now. We got everything gouged out. Some of these cracks went pretty deep. We got all the cracks gouged out. Swapped a stick rod for this. Anytime that there's an original seam, so even though there was a crack around the outside of the weld, we gouged all the way through the original weld, and there's still a seam in there where this thing was put together. From my experience, when you try to weld that up with the dual shield flux core, I believe it's the pressure on the inside that comes out through the weld causes a lot of porosity sometimes. So, and the wind's just picked up here, so we're probably going to end up welding all this out with stick rod. It's never fun to make a big mess with dual shield on your first pass there and have to grind out a lot of porosity or gouge out.